Get your helmet strapped on tight, folks, because part 2 with KWWL Sports Anchor Mark Woodley is coming at you hard. The way he fielded his segments in this episode was nothing short of a grand slam. Mark may not be Kurt Warner, but they both spent time stocking shelves at Hy-Vee in college. You do what you gotta do, pal. Did you know Mark hates dark chocolate?
What?
Doesn't care how the toilet paper gets put on a roll, and still regrets not dunking in that high school basketball game 30 years ago. Whether it's Wrexham Football Club or Waffle House, Mark knows what he likes. The game is almost over. So, let's get that last guy on the bench in here, shall we? Here's Bubba Seaman!
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What is up? Welcome back for part 2 with the sports casting, sports anchor sensation, none other than Mark Woodley. If you missed part 1, go back and watch it. You don't want to watch part 2 without having watched part 1 or listened if all you do is listen.
No, you'll be entirely lost.
Trust me, it was fun. You'll laugh, you'll enjoy it, you'll learn a few things about your favorite sportscaster. It was a really good time. We talked about his life, his career in sports media. We started off and really dug into the viral weather video that everyone probably wanted to hear all the details on. That thing really skyrocketed him into, I have written down the national stage, but clearly it was the global stage, right?
It went international, and we didn't even cover this in the first part, but I mean, so much good came out of that. I mean, we raised a lot of money off those T-shirts for the Humane Society.
Nice.
We made some money for Caden's Closet for the Waterloo Food Bank.
Nice.
And that's kind of my favorite part, and I got a lot of reactions. It happened around the holidays, and I actually got some really neat emails from people who were telling me, it's the holidays, I've kind of been alone, I'm kind of depressed. I saw that video, it made me laugh, and I just wanted to say thank you. And that's the stuff that really hits you. I mean, that was the stuff that was really neat.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the kind of guys I want sitting in that chair, ladies and gentlemen. Guys like that. They know what is up. That's the good stuff in life right there. Let's clear this up. This is something I didn't ask you in the first part before we get moving. How did that... So you were someone was holding a camera shooting you as you were talking, right?
Oh, no.
No, that was just you setting up the camera outside.
That was me outside on the In fact, it was so cold that when I got done with everything, we have an output on the outside of the station. I was just outside the station. You run the line from that output into the input in the camera. I've got it backwards. It's the output of the camera to the input into the station. I had to go get something to warm it up because it froze to the wall. Wow. I couldn't tear down the camera because it was stuck.
Wow, yeah, that was brutal. So that wasn't airing live?
It was live.
Yeah, it was live.
Yeah, but there was no cameraman outside.
Okay, so when you were talking about, when I asked you about the bosses and different things,
mm-hmm.
If you the video we showed in part 1, oh yeah, guys, if you didn't see part 1, we just played the video. Mark's master editing. You took some of the most funniest sarcastic moments and just kind of put them all together.
Right.
But when they were showing that, like every hour on the hour, when they would cut to you, like it was already airing for everyone to see. So you didn't actually need to ask your boss if you could put that out because it had...
Right.
People who didn't see it live maybe didn't see it, but
the supercut doesn't actually, it doesn't display what really happened that morning because most of those, that's a minute and a half out of, I think it was 14 live hits that morning.
Yeah.
So that's a minute and a half out of actual 20 minutes of airtime.
Yeah.
So I did, mention some funny things, but I was serious about it. It's negative 40 degrees out. We were in blizzard conditions. It's a serious thing. You want to make sure people realize it. So I wasn't just 100% making jokes about it. but the other stuff wasn't funny. So so I didn't put that on YouTube or Twitter because, well, people are just going to turn that off.
Right. And that's when it caught track. It's not like someone saw the live hits. Mm-hmm. It's when you put that out there. That's when TMZ saw it. That's when Judd Apatow saw it, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay, now I'm getting it.
Yeah, I had a few people who saw the stuff that was live on air, and they still said it was pretty funny, but it wasn't nearly as funny as when you jam it all together. When you do it all
like that, yeah. Oh, I'm with you. Okay, so yeah, if you want the ins and outs of that, guys, go back, watch part 1. That was good. He gave us the expert take on how that all went down, and wow, and apparently did some good things with it. I didn't know that. That is awesome. But this part 2 of his episode, we're going to have some fun. We're going to get a little serious at the end with name, image, and likeness and women's sports and things like that. But we're going to have some fun in the meantime. So to my audience, before we get rolling, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, like, share, wherever you're listening, watching. If you don't do that, we don't grow. This thing dies. We're still growing. Leave us that 5-star rating. You're not going to find better homegrown content than this. There's only 1 degree sitting down here, and you know he's got it. I don't have it. We're just trying to do something to encourage people.
I just want to let you know, too, you should feel somewhat special because when this is really the first time we've met in person.
Yep.
And when somebody that I don't know sends me an email and says, hey, do you want to hang out in my basement? I don't normally say, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do that.
Let me grab a bag of chips. I'll be right over, Bubba.
So just so you know.
Yeah, I try and look professional with the whole, like, my name and What Is Up podcast and my phone number at the bottom. But, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. That's real life, right? I say it's all about real life. That's real life. That's a real comment right there. Okay. If you found that funny, please share this on social media. That also helps us grow. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's super fun. So share it.
Yeah, you guys should come down here too. There's some nice stuff in this basement.
All right.
It's pretty great.
And this is only half of, this is just some of my sports stuff. The rest of it's in my garage on the wall and stuff. I got a whole wall of fame out in the garage.
I haven't seen the garage yet.
No, we'll go out there.
There is a reason you keep the camera pointed this way, though, because there's a bed over there.
Yeah, that's right. This is also my teenage son's bedroom, but that's it. I say it's my studio.
See, that's even worse if you would have emailed me and said, hey, do you want to hang out in my teenage son's bedroom?
Play some Xbox.
Right.
We're going off the rails. This is how you know it's a real life podcast, folks. Good stuff. Okay. If you want some of our merch, we'll get through the read eventually. If you want some of our merch, What Is Up shirts, hats, whatever you want. We're not making any money off this stuff. We'll sell it to you at cost. We usually give away most of it. We just want to get it out there. It looks really good today. Mark's leaving with a shirt and a cup, I think. So once you've done all that, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the best new podcast on the market. Mark, you ready to do your segments?
Yeah, why not?
You chose them, so here we go. Job rundown. List your entire job history if you can.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot about this one. I really wish I would have written this down and practiced it. Oh, well, I'm like any kid. So, of course, I started out detasseling back in the day. But even before that, I worked with my dad. I don't think he paid me. I know, right?
That's how it usually goes.
Oh, my God. My dad was great. But, yeah. Should have given me some money. No, he owned a trailer court in Conrad and also had several trailers set up at other trailer courts and things like that. And he would buy up damaged trailers.
Okay.
I mean, one year Ames flooded really bad, and there were a whole bunch of flooded out trailers that he'd buy. We'd rip out the floors and replace them. So a lot of what I did back in the day was helping put together old messed up trailers. He probably wishes I would have helped out more than I did, but occasionally. So that was the first real job that I didn't get paid for, but I went to tasseling like some kids. I worked at Pizza Plus as a waiter in Dike, Iowa. Before I worked at Vermeer in college, I worked at Central College. Nobody who is looking at part 2 even knows I worked at Vermeer because that came from part 1. See, this is why you need to watch part 1 because you missed so much about my employment.
He was almost in manufacturing. We could have missed out on it.
So I worked. I was a cashier and a stocker at Hy-Vee in Pella, Iowa.
Okay.
And then I moved on to Vermeer Manufacturing, where I worked in the parts center and filled out orders for 1 year. And then I was in production and helped make John Deere road scrapers because we were in contract. So we were doing contract work for John Deere.
Yeah.
So that ends college. pretty much. Well, I had an internship at Channel 7 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Got my first real job as a photographer at KGAN in Cedar Rapids. Got my first real on-air job at KIMT in Mason City.
Mm-hmm.
Came back to Channel 7 for a while. Left after a few years. Went to a couple of different jobs. I worked at Mud Advertising. I worked at Principal Financial. And then back to Channel 7. I've been back for about the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I think we got them all.
That's it. That's good stuff.
I'll bet I missed one.
That's a good job rundown right there. That was really good. Okay. You chose this or that. That's where this you can't prep for. I've just got a list, and I'll pick and choose right off of here. Let's see. Oh, you don't want to do those two. I've added a couple because I've got a famous Southern Cajun couple coming on in the very near future that's probably going to blow a lot of people's minds.
Oh, my.
Have you eaten Cajun food before?
I have eaten Cajun food
Okay.
before.
Well, then you're going to be the first one.
It's not the Princess and the Frog, is it? I believe that they're a famous Southern Cajun couple.
Yeah. No, it's not them. Much more famous than that. Let's see. So I'm going to test run them on you.
Uh-oh.
Crawfish or shrimp?
Ooh, it's tough. Go with shrimp.
All right. There we go. Let's see. Music or podcasts?
Definitely music. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
I've never been a big podcast guy. I have about 3 that I listen to, and 4 starting now. So there we go. But
that's about me too. Most people, you can't have a ton.
Yeah.
If you got a few, that's about all the free time you got, unless you're not very busy or you don't work a full-time job.
Definitely music.
That's it. Okay. In that house of yours, which is not the one we saw in the video.
Nope.
Is it barefoot, socks, or slippers?
You know what? I'm actually more of a shoes guy because it feels like I get nothing done. I don't know what it is about the feel, but if I'm wearing socks or if I'm barefoot, I don't do anything.
Okay, what about the end of the day?
End of the day.
You're done. You know you're done.
Barefoot, I think.
Barefoot?
Yep. You got to get out of the socks.
Yeah. Okay. Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
Swimming pool or beach?
Beach.
All right. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Of course. I'm the only one who likes winter around here.
I don't mind winter, but
let's see here.
Depends on what I'm doing that winter. Some winters are better than other winters.
Okay. Here's a weird one. Driver or passenger?
Driver, 100%. I do not like to ride.
I've seen this weird rise, and I've seen videos and things where the guy's wife is driving, and I'm like, not to say women can't drive or anything, please. No,
I'm not going to weigh in on that, Bubba. I'm just going to let you just keep talking about that.
But it's just a little odd when you see it. You're like, you got the whole family loaded up. Usually, the man drives, the woman doesn't. Mm-hmm. Not to say women can't drive; they can, and for all I know, they're better drivers. But it's just not something I'm used to seeing. It's just that stereotype is always the man drives. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, okay. I don't like being in the passenger seat. It might be a control thing. I don't know.
Which is probably where my questioning's coming from,
right.
Which is going to get me in trouble.
I'm not going to say that I'm not going to crash the car, but at least if I crash the car, it's my fault.
My fault. We want to be responsible if something happens. That's what I was getting at. It wasn't a knock on females. We better keep going. If you and the wife get to, well, how do I want to say that?
I don't know.
Do you want to
see it?
Do you want to cook at home, or would you rather go out?
I'd rather go out, but I can afford more to cook at home, and I don't mind cooking at home. But, if cost is not an issue, go out.
Absolutely. All right. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
All right. My kind of guy. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Okay.
I think dark chocolate's the worst thing in the world. Somebody! I think you like dark chocolate. I could see that on your face.
Well, I used to weigh 260, and so when I talked about in part 1 how at some point I got in shape and started running and doing all these other things, dark chocolate was definitely dark chocolate and diet soda were 2 of the big things that helped me get there. You throw away the regular.
You ate a lot of dark chocolate.
Well, not
to lose. It sounds like you hate yourself. Dark chocolate is disgusting.
Well, some of those like 80%. Cacao or what? Yeah, that stuff's horrible. I mean, that's for baking. Don't eat that. But yeah. Oh, I know. As a kid, I thought it was terrible. But okay, let's see. Pants or shorts?
Shorts.
Go to the movies or go out to dinner?
Movies. Don't do it enough.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Hot or iced?
Hot.
All right. Yeah. Movie or book?
Probably movie.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Host or be a guest?
I like to host.
You said you got a bar in the basement, right?
Got a bar in the basement. It's in a detached garage.
Or okay, with a 3-fingered tracing on the. See,
again, everybody in episode 2 is like, I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he means.
3-fingered man. I got to go back to episode 1 now. That sounds incredible.
That's right. That's called a teaser in the biz. That's called a teaser. All right. Let's see. Date night with just you and the wife, or do you got to go on a double date? You got to have people there to help.
Date night.
Okay, good for you. Ranch or barbecue?
Ranch.
Oh, man, you had me with Coke, and then you lost me with chocolate, and you lost me with ranch. Barbecue. Gotta be.
We're talking about sauces, right? We're not talking about like eating actual barbecue.
No, sauces.
I don't know, and it depends on the barbecue sauce. Some of them are just too sweet too.
Yeah. Okay. So you said you've ate seafood. Have you had southern restaurants that are known to be kind of in the South?
Yes, but
like chains.
Yeah. I don't know about chains.
Okay.
I worked the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. It was one of the first bowl games I got to do. I think it was in 2004.
Okay.
And we ate at a few places in Shreveport that were somewhat famous, so I don't think they were chains.
Between here and Shreveport, there's plenty of Cracker Barrels and Waffle Houses.
Oh, my God.
Have you tried both?
I don't know that I've actually ever been to a Cracker Barrel, but whenever I travel south, I choose hotels by their distance to the nearest Waffle House.
Yes! You've redeemed yourself. There you go. It is the best short order diner in the United States. It really is. That's good stuff.
Yeah, one of my last work trips, I was there in Nashville for 4 days for the Music City Bowl, and I ate at the Waffle House 4 times.
4 times? I love it. I love it. Cake or pie?
Ooh, I'll go with pie.
Weights or cardio?
Cardio. I mean, are you serious? Come on.
He's a humble guy.
I don't even know why you had to ask that one. Like,
because it's on the list.
No, when I've walked into a room, nobody has ever said, like,
Woodley, you've been hitting the weights?
You look jacked, man. That has never happened.
Okay. All right. Now these last 2 are very controversial. Shower at night or in the morning?
Morning.
Wow.
I can't do it. Whenever I shower at night, I don't know, my skin gets dry and I can't sleep.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
so
I get
I can't
that.
shower at night.
I get that. This one is the worst one right here. Clearly, there are 2 kinds of people in the world, and this is going to determine which one you are. When you're talking like toilet paper or paper towels on the roll, do you want it hanging over the front, or do you want it like hanging out the back and underneath?
There are 3 types of people in the world because I don't care.
You don't? Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't even notice.
I've never had someone say that.
I don't notice either way, and I guarantee you, when I put the roll on the spinner thing, that I never notice which way I'm doing it.
You don't put it on a certain way? You don't care what
and my
way
wife will tell you that I never put it on at all, which is true 80% of the time. I am right. Yeah, I'm that guy who, gets out a new roll and then sticks it on the back of the toilet and doesn't actually roll it up, and it drives her insane.
Oh, sure.
As it rightfully should, but I'm probably not going to change.
Here's I guess it really doesn't matter to you because you say, I don't care either way. I'm fine either way.
Yeah.
So what I tell people who disagree with me is, I pull the patent and I insert it and I show them this is how it's supposed to be. So I'm right, you're wrong if you disagree with me. When you go to a hotel and you just said, I've traveled here for this, I've traveled there. Think about the hotel bathrooms.
I think it goes over, right?
It goes over the front. And usually if it's
sometimes they have that little silver thing on the outside that pushes it back a little bit.
Or it's folded into a little pattern if you're at a fancy place, Best Western Plus or something. I don't know.
Right, which is incredible that they do that because it only matters to the first person to use the bathroom. After that, that person's not leaving the bathroom and folding it up. And
it's not like there's a little note there, hey, please fold in the triangle.
And if somebody does that, I'm not sure I want to know that person because that's a little much.
That's OCD. That would be weird. That'd be weird. Okay, that was good. Good stuff. You passed.
All right.
We'll keep going. Do-over. So if there's something in your past and you think, man, I'd love to, like we used to do in sports, if you hit the ball foul in the backyard or whatever, do-over. You get a do-over or whatever. And you want a second chance at something. What would it be? Serious? Not serious? Big? Small? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'd kind of forgotten why I chose this, and I think I know why. And you had it a little bit with hitting a foul ball out in the backyard. So one thing I never did in high school basketball, despite the fact that by my senior year I was 6'4", I never dunked in a game. Not once. Like, never did in college either. I did a few times in practice with everything. And the opportunities, there weren't many of them, but there is one that 30 years later, here in 2025, and this is the dumbest thing ever, and I understand this is the dumbest thing ever, but 30 years later, this still bothers me.
Oh.
We're playing Don Bosco. Don Bosco has actually gotten pretty decent at basketball over the years. Back then, it was wrestling only. The basketball teams were awful. And we were playing Don Bosco. We were killing them, and it didn't matter. I could screw up really bad. It wouldn't matter. And I got a back cut. Nobody between me and the bucket. Perfect opportunity, and I laid it in.
Missed opportunity.
You know, you're thinking with this segment it's going to be something big like, oh, yeah, I screwed up here in my career, and this is why everything went horrible for me, or that's why 3 of my dogs died or something. And that's not what I have. It's me going for a layup against Don Bosco 30 years later, being mad like I should have dunked it. It would have been the easiest dunk ever. And if I'd blown it, it wouldn't have mattered because the game was basically over anyway. And here we are. I've done it in practice, you know, in actual live scrimmages, but nobody's there. Nobody cared. Nobody saw it. This was the moment. Got 2 points. Would have been the exact same had I dunked at 2 points, but it would have meant something.
Yep.
And here I am talking about it.
Still stewing over it.
On the What Is Up podcast in 2025, that the biggest regret I have in my life is laying it up.
Okay, I'm not saying biggest regret ever. I'm just, if there is something you could go back and get a second shot at, you would definitely jam that today, wouldn't you?
100%.
Okay, that's all I need.
2 hands too. My hands weren't that big. I couldn't palm a ball very well.
That's just cool. You could dunk it.
If I go up with one hand, I'm just clanking it off. Probably not even the iron, off the backboard.
Yeah. Oh, I saw a couple missed dunks in the tournament these last week or so. Have you ever seen that movie, Mr. Destiny? Jim Belushi. It's a baseball movie, kind of, or it's not really a baseball movie, but it starts out.
I've seen a bit of it. I don't know that I've ever seen it all the way through.
You never know. You not dunking could have put your life on a trajectory. Had you dunked it, you never know. Something changes. 3
of my dogs might have died. I never had 3 dogs at once, so that would be bizarre anyway.
A certain girl, you catch her eye, and then your life doesn't end up the way it does because it just a total. And that's how Mr. Destiny is. Belushi strikes out in the state championship baseball game. Well, then he gets a chance to redo that. And he hits a home run, and his life's totally different. And he has everything he could ever imagine: house, car, job, all that.
And
what does he want?
Right?
It's not. He wants to go. He wants to go back to live the life as if he had struck out and got the 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch house with his wife, and it's just good movie, Mr. Destiny.
I'll be honest with you. Had I dunked that basketball, it's not like colleges were going to be,
No. I'm trying to build up the suspense here.
Kicking down my door to get me to sign with him at that point.
We got to get this guy.
Oh my gosh. You guys see that one play?
White chocolate thunder over here. We got to get him signed. You wouldn't have went to Central.
That kid's D1.
Okay.
Probably going to be an NBA All-Star.
Let's see how much more fun we can have in the Getting to Know You segment. That's good stuff. Okay, favorite sports teams or athletes? Do you have to be unbiased because you're in that field?
I try to be unbiased with local teams.
Okay.
I'm not going to answer this as far as my favorite college teams or favorite high school, maybe the one I went to. But
okay, sure.
Definitely, there are some interesting ones here and some not so interesting. I mean, I've always been a big Chicago sports fan, but for some reason, not in basketball. I was not a big Michael Jordan guy.
Good.
Is Michael Jordan the greatest of all time? Absolutely. Yeah. And, people argue LeBron, whatever. No, it's Michael. It's 100% Michael. But I grew up as a Magic Johnson fan. I loved the Lakers. What I've learned about my basketball fanship, that I'm not a fan of teams. Apparently, I'm a fan of players because once, Magic and Kareem and all those guys were done, Turns out I wasn't much of a Lakers
Weren't a
fan
Lakers
anymore,
fan.
and I was a Utah Jazz fan for the while because I was a big Jeff Hornacek fan.
Okay.
Back in the day, we had season tickets at Iowa State, incredible seats. They were my grandpa's. He was one of the original donors to Hilton Coliseum and Jack
Nice.
Trice Stadium.
Nice.
And he got those seats with a pretty small donation. Eventually, he got priced out of them, and we weren't sitting in the fourth row across from Johnny Orr anymore. But we got to see a lot of Johnny's great teams. He was a big fan of Jeff Hornacek. Kind of followed him around Philadelphia and Utah and everywhere he went. So that's kind of, and I'm not a huge NBA fan anymore. Always been a big Bears fan. And I was 10 years old, 9.5, when the Bears won the Super Bowl in '86, the '85 Bears.
Yeah.
And that's about the time, when you're 9 years old, when your fanship is starting to begin. So
Sure.
you're impressionable at that point. So Bears win the Super Bowl. I'm like, this is my team. We're going to do this every year for my entire life.
Oh.
I am 48 years old, and it hasn't happened
Still
since.
chasing.
I mean, I'm not. At least I'm not a Vikings fan. That'd be far worse. Not
Which all my in-laws are.
with a big zero
Yep. Yeah.
by there. But yeah, I got my one 39 years ago.
Wow.
Grew up a Cubs fan. I don't know why I became a Cubs fan because they weren't really that good at that time either. I mean, '84 was a really good year, but
I watched them a lot in the 90s
been
because they
called
were
the lovable losers for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And an interesting one that's happened in the last few years. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to nobody else. Do you know anything about Wrexham Football Club? Have you heard of Wrexham Football Club?
That soccer?
It is soccer.
Yeah.
Wrexham is a team in Wrexham, Wales.
Okay.
Nobody really would know much about Wrexham. It's an industrial town. It's probably about the size of Cedar Falls.
Okay.
But the way the English system works, and I'll preface this by saying I knew a little bit about this club going back to 1998. When I was at Central College, I spent half a year in Wales. Now, I'd never been to Wrexham. I knew where Wrexham was. That was about it. But something remarkable happened about 4 years ago. Ryan Reynolds, the actor, and Rob McElhenney, the other actor who was in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, bought Wrexham Football Club. And the way the English system works is, you can move up and down tiers. So like teams that are in the Premier League, like Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, the big ones that everybody knows, Tottenham, most are in the Premier League. But if they're terrible, they can actually drop down to the second level, which is the championship. The bottom three teams move down, and you can move down tiers. Well, Wrexham Football Club was in the 5th tier of English football when Rob and Ryan bought them 4 years ago. And they had been stuck in the 5th tier for the previous 15 years. Now, in the 100-some-year history of the club, they'd never been higher than Tier 2.
Okay.
Since they were bought 4 years ago, and me being having an affinity for Wales anyway, I started to get into this football team at that time, this soccer club. I know I got to switch between my English and my English. Football, soccer. We'll call it soccer from here on out.
Yeah.
They were in the 5th tier when they first bought him. First year, they didn't move up. They remained in the 5th tier. Second year, they won the league. All of a sudden, they're in the 4th tier. Year after that, which was last year, they won the league again.
Okay.
They're now in the 3rd tier. They've never been higher than the 2nd, but they are currently in 2nd place with 6 games left. 3 teams go up. 2 go up automatically, and then there's a 4-team playoff for that 3rd spot.
Okay.
So they're in position right now where they could move up to the English Championship, which is 2nd tier, and it'd actually be history because no team has gotten 3 promotions in a row. So, but that's it's one thing that always fascinated me about the system is the fact, this team in this smaller city, like the size of Cedar Falls, could be in the same league with like Manchester
big
City,
dogs.
with Arsenal and all these. And if they keep it up the next 3 weeks, I'm actually going to a game of theirs in 3 weeks over in Wales.
Attaboy.
If they can keep this up, they're going to be one level below those guys, and who knows?
Wow.
2 years from now, and it's a really neat story. And if you were to go to Wrexham, Wales, again, it's not a place that tourists or anybody would go to until recently, you know, and it's this whole thing, it's revitalized the town. I mean, it's an old mining town. They had a mining disaster a long time ago, like 70 some years ago. A lot of miners died. The city's been a little depressed kind of since then economically. Yeah. And this has breathed new life into the businesses in town, into the people in town. They're selling out games. I mean, it's an incredible thing. And so Wrexham Football Club is, you know, a definitely become a big passion of mine as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a deep answer for that one. Wow. Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds, he's kind of a small business kind of guy. He's a Mr. Business mentality. He's not. Everyone thinks he's just an actor, and I think his passion is business.
It is. You know, he owns Mint Mobile. He owns Aviation Gin, a bunch of these brands. I think he sold Mint Mobile for like $6 billion something. Yeah. Something insane.
Yeah.
But it's funny, this team, you know, how the soccer clubs over there usually have a big sponsor on the front of their jerseys. Their sponsor 4 years ago was a North Wales trailer company, E4 Williams Trailers. Their sponsor now on the front of their jerseys is United Airlines.
Ah, there you go. Well, the Jeffersons say it. Moving on up.
They've pumped a little money into that.
Nice. I like how before that you mentioned, you know, you followed players, and that I really wasn't into sports when I was young.
Mm-hmm. And it's really only a basketball thing for me for some reason.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Everyone, when I was young, loved Bo Jackson and the Raiders. Mm-hmm. Everyone. Because we'd never seen anything like that. Peyton was great, but Bo was different. Bo was just... And then
Bo was two sports different.
I mean, he was...
Especially defensively in baseball. He was just a monster.
Yeah. And it's just... Everyone left. All my friends left the Raiders. Once Bo got hurt, everyone left. And it's like, I love the Raiders now. Even though I couldn't stand to watch a football game, I thought it was just, I couldn't stand watching the game. I didn't come to like it until like junior high. But yeah, everyone had their player. And then, it was more about players rather than teams. And for some reason, I stuck with the Raiders. And I probably shouldn't have because, my goodness, we're not good. Okay. Let's keep moving here. Favorite place you've ever traveled to? I figured you must have picked that one, I guess, or maybe.
I believe I did.
Okay.
I believe that was one I threw in there because my wife and I have been fortunate the last 6 years to do some things that we never thought we'd ever do.
Oh, cool.
And it's been really neat. And it began 5 years ago. We wanted to do something special for our 20th anniversary. So initially we were going to go to Hawaii. And and we've since been to Hawaii, and Hawaii was awesome. Not my favorite. My favorite place was the place that we chose that year. I think she's texting me right now too. She knows I'm talking about her. We chose. We got to thinking like, okay, we can go to Hawaii, but Hawaii's somewhere where we can go when we're 70, 80 years old and still have a great time. Let's go do something now that maybe 15, 20 years from now.
Oh, boy.
We're not going to be able to do.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea, and I thought she was just going to throw it right back in my face. Like, no, we're not doing that. I came up with this idea that we hike the Inca Trail in Peru, which ends at Machu Picchu. Now, it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
And it turned out really great for us because we both lost quite a bit of weight, because mostly out of fear, because we're like, okay, well, we don't want to die on this thing. I mean, there's enough people there that they can evacuate you out of there.
Yeah.
It's not like climbing Mount Everest or anything like that, where you really have a somewhat decent chance of dying.
Yeah, that's major life.
But it's a 4-day hike. It's about 30 miles through the Andes. There are 2 passes that are over 14,000 feet along the way. And it's one of the prettiest countries I've ever been to.
Yeah.
The people there were super neat. It's incredibly cheap, which doesn't hurt either.
Yeah,
we went to a few restaurants where we're thinking, okay, it's a 4-course meal. You go to a really nice place there. We're spending $75-$100 person here minimum, and I've only eaten at places like that a couple times in my life.
Yeah.
And we get the bill, and I lean over to her. It's like, Rachel, this is like $12 a person.
Wow.
And so, that was my favorite place I've ever been. Last April, this was something I've always wanted to do, but I never thought I'd be able to take the time to do it. And then the whole viral video thing happened, and I felt like, at least in my mind, I'm like, I feel like I have a little more clout at work to ask for something that I wasn't going to ask before. And I don't know if that's the case, but in my brain, I was like, oh, okay, I wouldn't have asked for this last year, but I'm going to ask for this now because I need to take off close to 3 weeks at work to get this done. I got together with a buddy from high school who had done this before me and wanted some advice. He's like, oh, I'm going to go again. What we did was we went and hiked to Everest Base Camp.
Oh, wow.
That's in Nepal, and it's an 11-day hike. It's 8 days up, 3 days down, because it's much easier to go down.
Oh,
and
sure.
On the way up, you also have to stop for a day twice and just do like local hikes in your area as you get used to altitude. So the highest we got up on that trip was 18,500 feet on top of a hill called Kalapatar, which is actually higher than Everest Base Camp, but you can't see Mount Everest from Everest Base Camp because there's another ridge in front of you, so you have to go up this other hill, and Mount Everest is right there, and it is super cool. But
wow, it
was really cold at night.
I couldn't imagine 8 days going up.
It was something.
Dude, that's impressive.
You know, the worst part of it, everything was incredibly pretty, and I 100% would do it again. Again, you stay at tea houses, so you're not staying in tents at least, but they're not heated in any ways, and you know it's 30-some degrees at night, which it's much worse in the winter. At least in the summer, it's 30 degrees. The worst thing was the food. It's not that the food was bad; it's that the food was the exact same at every place you went.
Yeah.
And by day 7, it's like I can't eat any more rice and potatoes. This is all we've had, because they tell you not to eat meat there because they don't really have refrigeration. So the higher you go up, the further you get away from where that meat was processed and brought in. So it's like, their stomachs can handle it, yours can't.
Nope. Oh, I get it. Oh, that's cool. That's exciting. Wow. Okay, past injuries or surgeries? We covered a little bit. We covered one, I guess, in part 1.
Oh, yeah, when my fingers blew out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like squeezing
like
a sausage.
Hot dogs.
Like,
oh.
I mean, so many stitches. The other one that my sister was, well, 2 more that my sister was directly responsible for. Okay, most people would say indirectly because I still made the choice.
Yep.
I believe she was part of the when I Supermaned off that stool.
The chair,
and,
okay.
Hit my head on the floor. That was a lot of stitches there. She did push me on the ice once on our driveway, drilled my head on the concrete. That was more stitches. I've broken my nose at least 3 times.
Really? It doesn't show?
I know.
Not bad.
It was a pretty clean, straight break. It never got drilled off to the side. The first time was at a school that doesn't exist anymore. We were playing a junior high game at Cedar Falls NU High School.
Oh, yeah. I played NU.
Yes. In Price Lab there.
Yeah.
And I was going for a ball out of bounds. And this kid and I kind of were both going for it. We both tumbled to the ground. And at some point, his knee comes up and just smashes me in the face as we're rolling in the ground.
Yeah.
I got pulled from that game.
Yeah.
I checked, yeah, your nose is broken. And then it actually happened the other 2 times. Happened in practice in the coming months, where I just take a ball to the face. It's already been broken, so it just was a lot easier.
Yep.
Like things that aren't going to break your nose normally, that did.
Yep.
Oh, let's see. I got a concussion in a basketball game at Central College where I took an elbow to the face.
Oh, my goodness.
Got knocked out, actually, on that one.
Is there footage of that floating around anywhere?
There is footage of the knee that I took to the face. The
Really?
college one, no. Nobody's filming those college games.
Okay.
There might be some team film that I'm sure has long been destroyed.
That's what I pride myself in. When I interviewed Tara Getman, she said she was on Wheel of Fortune while she was in college.
Oh, yeah.
So I dug that footage up. She goes, it's out there somewhere. You could probably find it. And I found it.
Yeah, I mean,
darn it! I want to get that picture of you getting smashed.
I know the junior high one exists. It's on VHS somewhere.
Good old VHS.
Being able to dig that up probably isn't going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do there. I mean, I've had elbow injuries. I've had ankle injuries.
Yeah.
A lot of plantar fasciitis over the years.
See, and that's part of why I want to stop running. I'm afraid that's going to be the next thing to come for me.
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see.
Yeah, and it seems like anytime I go to work out at the gym, I'm 50% of the time I'm at the chiropractor the next day.
Right. I told the guy, I was like, hey, do I need to hang up running? If you say so, I will. And he's like, no, I don't think so. I think it just aggravated a nerve here. But.
Well, what's the worst thing when you get older is that you can get injured doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I sat wrong for 10 minutes, and now I can't move for a week.
You say that, but younger people aren't going to believe you. I know exactly what you're saying.
That's a real thing.
It makes no sense, but...
And I was still in just barely turned 40 at the time when I went out to that Rose Bowl, and I was in a seat right in front of the emergency row, and not only do those seats not recline, but on some airlines, that seat's actually pushed forward slightly, so you're almost sitting straight upright. And I had that seat on the way to the Rose Bowl, and during the entire trip... It was 9 days at the Rose Bowl. I could not look left.
Something was out.
Something was out. Like, I can't turn my head past, straight. If I try and look left, I have to turn my entire body over here.
Wow.
And I was concerned, I don't know any chiropractors out here, so I couldn't get that taken care of until I'm sure I could have. I could have figured it out, but I didn't because it was more than I wanted to do, and I had other things to do.
Sure.
So I had to just deal with that for 9 days.
Oh.
And that's the longest we've ever gone on any bowl trip because, 8 days before they played in that game, a lot of people don't want to recall that game at all. Christian McCaffrey was a beast, and I couldn't do anything.
Nothing.
And that game was awful.
Yeah.
But 8 days before was something we wanted to be there before because that's when they make their team trip to Disneyland.
Okay.
So... I went out there first.
Yeah.
And I went out there first because we didn't want to send that many people for 9 days. But that was the most staff we've ever had at a bowl game too. But I went out first alone. Ron and 3 other guys. We had a field producer there, another anchor, and a cameraman. So there were 5 of us that did this. They all came out a few days later. But that Disneyland trip turned out it might be the most surreal. It may actually be the most memorable thing I've done in this business.
Oh, cool.
And not for any reason that you would think it would be. But this memory is so vivid in my mind. Yes, I had the 2 Final Fours, and I called that my most memorable moment. This is close just because of how bizarre it was. So,
oh, boy.
Yes. So this is a fun story to tell. I'm glad I remembered this one. So I'm all alone, and I wanted to go live in the parks during the 5 and 6 o'clock shows, so I got a hold of Disneyland's technical people ahead of time to see if it was possible, if there's a place I can go live in the park or whatever. And they're like, yeah, you can, but if you're using what we think you are, which is these backpack units that we have that they use cell signals to send the video back.
Okay.
They basically replaced the big trucks with the giant masts on top. Those are almost obsolete now because they've replaced them with these backpacks that use cell signals, and the technology's come along a long way.
Okay.
The video signal, everything's great now. It was a little rough at the beginning, but the guy tells me, he's like, if you're using what I think you are, it's not going to work in the park. It's Christmas time. There are 8 million people here. They're going to jam up the cell signals, and you're not going to probably be able to do this. So I'd given up on the idea.
Okay.
But I show up at Disneyland. We do the press conference with Kirk Ferentz and everything. And that guy finds me, and he's like, hey, are you the guy that wanted to go live in the park? I'm like, yeah, that's me. He's like, well, show. Did you bring your backpack unit with you? If it's what I think it is, we might have a solution for you. He's like, oh, yeah, we can plug this into the Ethernet here.
Hardwire it.
Yep.
Nice.
So, great. All right, so we've got that done. So I just need to get ready for the shows now. And so I'm editing all my stuff on my computer on a sidewalk in Disney World, like Disneyland, and all these people walking by. And one of the people comes up to me and is like, it's fine that you do this here, but, we can find a place for you if you want to be somewhere a little more comfortable. Which is like, yeah, of course. I'm sitting on a sidewalk here.
This is how we do it back in Iowa.
So, okay. So it takes me to a fence, and we go through a door. And when you pass this fence, Disneyland ends. All the magic disappears on the other side of this fence. We walk through the fence. It's basically a warehouse, a parking lot. There's no magic on the far side of the fence. And they take me to the break room of the Ariel's Under the Sea ride. This is where I'm working. And you can hear the ride the whole time. And it's one of those rides where the boats go through, and every time the boat goes through, like Sebastian the Crab says the same thing to each boat.
Oh, no.
So every 12 seconds for the next hour and a half, I'm hearing Sebastian the Crab.
That's torture.
Oh, man, it's always better under the sea. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Every 12 seconds for an hour and a half while I'm trying to concentrate, put all my things together, and it is surreal. I've got that coming from down the hallway. There are these characters from the park, Goofy, Mickey, whatever. They're taking their breaks in this room. So I've got like headless Goofies and Mickeys.
Oh my goodness!
In there, they're all eating their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It is just the weirdest thing. They're on the break room TV. They're watching Two Broke Girls. Me and all these Disney mascots.
Was anybody like smoking a cigarette or anything?
We're indoors. I don't think that's allowed. But
Okay.
yeah.
Oh my goodness! I can so picture that in my head right now.
So yep.
Wow.
And I'm like, I really want to take a picture, but I feel like they'd be mad, so I'm not going to.
You should have.
I should have.
I would so love to put that in right here.
I know.
That'd
Remember
be
that
awesome.
regret segment we did last episode? Well,
There's
this
one. There's
episode.
another one. Man.
Yeah, so there's another. Should have taken a picture there. So, okay, I got done with all my stuff.
Cool.
And again, this is like when I told you on the winter thing. Like, I was out there alone. I was setting up my own tripod, standing in front of the camera, doing the thing. So I get done and I get ready to do my 5 o'clock show, and the guy grabs my backpack, opens up a panel in a very real-looking tree.
No kidding.
Wasn't a real tree apparently, because he opens up a panel into it and plugs my backpack unit into the tree.
Cool.
I know. And I set my stuff up, and he's like, "Wait a second, are you all alone?" Yeah. He's like, "No. Well, we're gonna take care of this." So he gets on his walkie-talkie, calls up a few people. I showed up to Disneyland alone. By the time I was live at 5 o'clock, I had 2 lighting guys. I had a camera operator. I had a grip who was just making sure everything technically was correct.
Wow.
I had 2 security guys, keeping people away from me. I went from being a crew of 1 to a crew of 8 in an hour, and it was the best lit, best looking shot I've ever had. Like, everything looked spectacular.
No
way
kidding.
better than I could ever do. And I'm thinking this is great. Then I'm thinking also to myself, this is a $1 billion company that does not want anything done in their park
That doesn't
to look terrible.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
you
yes.
got the Disney treatment, man.
It was the coolest thing ever. Best looking live shot I've ever done. I'm sure I sounded terrible, but
Oh man.
still looked great.
Yeah.
But yes, 2 broke girls in the
There's
in
so
the
much
break.
to unpack there. That is awesome. Man, that's life experience right there.
It was a fun one.
That's cool.
I forgot what we were doing.
Okay.
I think I went on a complete tangent.
That's
there
all right.
About
That's,
Disneyland.
Hey, that's good content. So we're at 50 minutes,
All right.
and we still got near-death experience.
I almost had I did have a dryer dropped on me at an auction when I was 3 years old. So there you go. There's my near death.
At 3 years old, how
Oh,
do
yeah.
you survive that?
I don't know.
Wow. All right, last one for the Getting to Know You segment. One thing you love or appreciate about your spouse. The husbands and wives of my guests, they love me leaving this in. So go ahead and wow her.
You know what? First of all,
for my hundreds of fans.
I know she's incredible. I mean, she puts so much into our family. I mean, she is the reason that our family runs, for one thing.
Yeah.
I fell in love with her in college. I'm just in love, as much in love, 30 years later as I was back then. But, my favorite thing about her, and it's something that I wish would almost change a little bit, is the fact that she will put other people and their needs in front of her own, time in and time again. And when you do what I do, when you're gone on weekends, when you're gone 3 nights out of the week, you're only there Wednesday, Thursday night, and I see her Saturday and Sunday morning, and that's our time together.
Yeah.
And most of the time that I'm gone is when the kids are home, which means she has got to be super
Doing
mom
it, yeah.
that whole time. And she never complains about it. And she should. She should do, she should find ways to do things for herself. I need to find ways to do more things for her.
Sure.
But the fact that she is incredibly selfless, she lets me do what I do. I mean, I wouldn't be here in this job. I wouldn't have had a viral video. I wouldn't have been named Iowa Sportscaster of the Year twice, which I still don't know how that happened. That was
because you're the man.
Sure.
You're good at what
Let's
you
go
do.
with that. None of this happens if I don't have a woman like that behind me.
Amen. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That's the right answer. Good stuff. I love that.
You don't have moments like I said, like when my boy comes home and tells me he went to the football meeting or he does something that you just don't expect him to do,
Yeah.
My daughters are incredible artists. My oldest daughter is got like 5 pieces of art in an art show at Hawkeye right now, and she's super excited about it. I mean, everybody, you don't have moments like this if you don't have kids, if you don't have a family. You missed so much.
Yep. I agree 100%.
And you know what? I know there are people who are single and happy and probably are happier than they would be without kids, and that's fine.
That's fine for them.
That's the path they found, but that's not mine.
That's it. Yeah. Yep. I love it. And tell them I've got a famous artist coming on. Be on the lookout real soon.
That's what I've heard.
Real soon.
It's Princess and the Frog is showing up.
It's the other half of that.
Oh.
She's more famous, and he's an artist.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's the only teaser I'm putting out there. We are going to do a merch giveaway. I think he's sending up some of his art to give away.
Holy cow.
So they're going to want to get in on that. So, okay. We got some time left. Let's do the What Is Up segment. You chose 2. You chose Caitlin Clark and her influence on women's sports, and then you also chose name, image, and likeness, so you can kind of just run with either, both, merge them together, do what you want to do.
All right. And you can feel free to lead me at any point, too, if I just start straying down some pathway here. But, let's talk about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's incredible. Am I wrong about that?
If there's a word to use, that would have to be the biggest word. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And I am one of the fortunate ones in this country who, got to be along for that entire ride, to go to 2 Final Fours. And at this point in my career, I'm 20 years in. You're thinking, well, this is never going to happen. Then you go for 2 in a row. Yeah. And we thought we might have gotten one with the Iowa State men again this year. But, too many injuries, too much going on there. Because I think of fully healthy, that team has a shot. But
sure.
It is what it is. But, Caitlin Clark, what Caitlin Clark has done for not only women's basketball, but women's sports in general is incredible. I mean, it's a phenomenon. We've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
You don't see women's teams out. You don't see their attendance above the men's teams at their school. That's what's happened at the University of Iowa. You tell somebody 5 years ago that this was going to happen, they'd let you know that you were an idiot.
Yeah.
And yet Caitlin Clark, with, the way she's handled everything, with her athletic ability, with the logo threes, with her ability just to make this game as exciting as it is. And the thing is, it's always been exciting, but she was the one who got to shine a light on that fact.
Yeah.
And that's made a big difference. Caitlin Clark is no longer in college. The Iowa women are still nearly selling out games. Iowa State's attendance is great. There's so much more attention on this year's women's Final Four and women's tournament than there would have been 3-4 years ago. And that's because of what Caitlin Clark does. And now she's selling out WNBA arenas.
Yep. Yeah, home or away.
Home or away. And a lot of these WNBA teams are playing in small arenas, and they move these games to the NBA arenas, to the NHL arenas, because they know they're going to fill it.
Right. Yeah, it's awesome.
I can't afford to go to one of Caitlin Clark's games right now.
Yeah. That's good stuff. It's been exciting for sure. We'll see what keeps happening in the future. That's good stuff. All right. I'm definitely interested on your take on name, image, and likeness, because I've got a couple of opinions on that and the transfer portal and stuff like that. And so since this is kind of your world, what's your take on it?
You know what? Mine's going to be, I think, a little bit different than most people, because There are bad aspects to it, and I think people focus on the bad aspects a lot.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt they exist. I think NIL, compared to nothing, is great because I think what's happening with NIL, stuff that was going on in the dark before that only a few were engaging in, and the ones who were cheating and benefiting from it, now everybody has the opportunity to benefit from it. It's legal. It's in the light. We know that.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of it. I think. I mean, we go to games 90% to watch the players, not to pay the coaches, but who was getting paid?
The coaches.
The coaches.
Yeah.
Transfer portal, that one's tricky too, and they do go hand in hand. And it's the one thing I don't like about NIL. I think for the bigger conferences, it's great. Because look at Iowa State right now. Iowa State probably doesn't have the NIL that Ohio State and some of these places do. They have enough, though. They're still competing. Who doesn't have enough are teams like you and I, the mid-majors. I hate it for the mid-majors because basically they're becoming a training ground for the top players to go up and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I do not begrudge the players that do it because it's a better opportunity for them. For Nate Heisey, who was great at UNI for several years, to go play at Iowa State. He wanted to play in the NCAA tournament, and especially with the way things are going, he's probably going to have less of a chance at UNI because players keep getting poached. Teams just, all these smaller leagues, they're definitely going to be one team bid leagues from now on.
Yeah.
You're not going to see, like you saw, 10 years ago, the Missouri Valley getting 2, sometimes even 3 teams with Wichita State, Creighton, and whoever won the tournament.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen for any of these leagues anymore. So the chances for you and I and these teams to make the NCAA tournament become that much smaller.
Yeah.
So Nate Heisey wants to play an NCAA tournament, and that kid was I interviewed him several times in Milwaukee last week. He was so excited to be there. I mean, watching him in practices before the games, he never stopped smiling. I mean, it's a big deal. So I'm glad he got the opportunity, but it stinks for you and I.
Yep. I hear you.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I always thought it was unfair that, when it comes to the transfer portal, a kid transfers, he loses a year.
Yeah.
Coach buys out his contract, and like you made the comparison.
Yeah.
The coach is the one making the millions. Okay, so now we got kids making some money too. And so I think when you look at both of them, I see the pros and cons. I think it's got to get to a more workable, fair system somehow.
I agree. I don't know what that system is.
And I don't either. There you go, guys. Me and Mark say this is what has to happen. We don't know how to make it happen.
Right.
But
I think that's the problem a lot of people are running into. It's like,
it's the Wild West right now. At some point, maybe there's got to be some financial cap. So you would be in agreement saying this year's tournament worked out the way it did, and we can see it's probably going to. You're going to have less upsets. You're going to have the mid-majors are just, it's going to be near impossible.
Yes.
Okay, so we saw the intro of that this year. It's only going to get more predominant as we keep going down the road, unless they do something to maybe cap the amount of money. But then you'll go back to, then some of it's just going to go right back under the table, and at least now everything's out in the open. I really don't know what to do.
Well, yeah, and there are ideas where, in theory it's going to work, but then they're going to face legal challenges. You don't know what's going to stand up because there have been a lot of legal challenges that have gotten us to this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you bring it back.
Yeah. The easy argument used to be, nope, they're on scholarship. That's their payment, and that's it. And it's like, well, anyone with in the right mind knows they're making millions and millions of dollars. That they need to get something.
Right. But I hear so many people, online, and everything online gets amplified way more than, the average person thinks. It's the loudest voices you hear, but so many people saying that the transfer portal and NIL has ruined the game. I disagree because I think most of this stuff has already happened before.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that you didn't know about it. If you stopped paying attention to NIL especially, I mean, it's hard to stop paying attention to the transfer portal because, there's different players out there now.
Yeah, you got to know where they're going.
Right. But, if you paid less attention to it, you wouldn't notice that much different in the games. I mean, I don't cover NIL or anything as much as I cover the actual games. And to me, games look the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So that's why I don't get bothered by it because I don't think about it enough. If you think about it too much, that's when you get angry. That's when you think the games get ruined.
Yeah. Well,
it hasn't been ruined for me.
you're a sports anchor. Like when you listen to all the sports talk radio, they get paid to analyze every aspect of sports. So at some they're going to have to talk about the pros and the cons and the ins and the outs. And is this guy, you know, back in the day, is he getting the McDonald's bag, you know, that actually is lined with hundreds on the bottom or whatever, you know, that's what they're paid to. So the buzz is never going to go away. I wish there was just I hope as we progress in it, there's a way. You know, the NFL just got done with their rule change meetings. Look at that. How long has the NFL been around? And they're still tweaking things.
Right.
And so I just imagine the whole NIL transfer portal thing. I imagine it's a progressing monster. Like I think they're going to try and find ways to manage it. And will there still be people that do it, you know, do stuff hidden or whatever? That's fine. But
what I don't like, however, and this does make me angry, and I don't know that there's any way to stop it, are the players who play 4 years for 4 different schools.
Oh, yeah. No,
where you're looking for that little bit better opportunity. All right, you found it, but, there's a little bit better one here. I'm going to play here next year. Oh, you got a little something for me over here? I do not like that. You transfer once, maybe even twice, since most guys are playing 5 years or anymore. Okay. But the guys who have played for 4 schools, it's too much.
Yep. Nope, I would agree. And that, to me, that would be like a good stipulation they could throw in there. You know, maybe you get 2, but if you're going to do it a 3rd time, you lose a year.
Right.
They go back. You know what I mean? I think there'll be things that come up. We'll see. But as long as the end product is good, I mean, it is what it is.
Games are still fun.
That's right. All right, man. That's good conversation. That is good conversation right there.
We did all right?
I'd say so.
Okay.
I'd say so.
I was concerned.
I got to thank you for coming on, buddy. You did great. This was a lot of fun. Really good discussion, both parts, part 1 and part 2. I'm sure you encouraged our audience, maybe even enlightened them a little bit, you know, made them laugh with everything that you shared.
Your audience needs higher standards then.
I keep saying he's a humble guy. Yep. We're pretty salt of the earth kind of people. We don't have high expectations, so you fit in real good around here. I was kind of hoping, you would give us a glimpse behind the guy that's behind the camera that we see every Friday night and in the gyms and stuff like that. And because you and me agree, people are craving authentic content. They just want to see. We want to see the other guys at KWW. Just be yourself. Let it come through. Sure, there's always going to be nerves. Sure, you're always going to be tempted to act a little bit. People want to just see who you are. That's it. Just be that person. And I think you did that. You let us behind the curtain a little bit. So hopefully I got my audience thinking a little bit more about life. You shared some good personal stuff too that I can really appreciate. So to my audience, have you caught yourself looking around at any point and asking yourself, like, what is up? Like, what is up with some of these things? Is it getting crazy? Is it getting out of control? Or is there things we can do better? You know, like we didn't really hit on it, but the evolution and the takeover of travel sports, you know, and kids specializing in a single sport at a young age. Is it good or bad, you know? Or how about the impact of exposing our kids to social media and smartphones too soon? You know, that stuff hasn't always been around. We're really, the young adults today and, college-age kids, high school-age kids, this is the first generation for them to grow up with the internet right there in the palm of their hand 24/7. You know, sometimes maybe we need to ask, is this helping or hurting our kids? The results are starting to come in, and, you know, the sports issue can go either way. I see the benefits of travel sports, I really do. But the social media, smartphone issue, that's definitely putting kids at risk of serious harm if we expose them to it too early, that's for sure. And you guys know where I go for guidance. You know where I get my answers. If we look to the Word of God, He will truly show us what is up. I promise you that. When it comes to raising kids, we're told to train them up in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. It's one of my favorite verses, one of the few I've ever memorized, Proverbs 22:6. When it comes to sports, they can be great at helping kids grow and learn all kinds of skills and character-building traits, hard work, teamwork, all that stuff. Me and Mark both played sports. We're very average at best, I guess. We both admit.
The word average is doing a lot of work
there we go. But we learn teamwork. We learn sacrifice, overcoming adversity. It kind of helps build confidence and things like that. But the moment we put any sport or anything in a higher position than it deserves in our lives, we're putting ourselves and our kids and our families at risk. The Bible warns us of putting anything above Him as the number one priority in our lives, including sports, college aspirations, even dreams of making it to the pros. Those are all great things. None of them are bad on their own, but they need to stay in their lane when it comes to the priority they have in our lives. You don't want them taken over. And that responsibility kind of falls on us as parents. That's our job. That's our God-given responsibility. And that's why I think the Bible gives the best answers and the best explanations for why the world is the way it is and why we are the way we are. So if you're struggling or you need help or you want to know more, you can join me any Sunday at FBC in Dunkerton or online on our Facebook page if you're not in the area. If you want to get a hold of Mark, if you got questions for him, you can email me and maybe I'll get you through to him. But like you said, he's got a private Facebook page and a public. He keeps the life separate, so we're not trying to hound him at all.
Woodley at KWWL.com. You can just email me at work.
There we go. I think that's how I got a hold of him.
There you go.
Once he agreed I wasn't going to do something nefarious in my basement, but he accepted the invite, and that's why we made it happen here today.
I was concerned too.
You can email me any of that stuff at whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. I'll listen to your comments, your questions. I'll even listen to your criticism. Mark even say he got some of those bad comments from time to time. Not very many of them, but I'll take them. But just remember, I'll take your criticism, but it's a two-way street, okay? I'm going to want to personally share the gospel with you because I think that's number one importance, so that you can know for sure that God is real, that he loves you, and he wants a relationship with you. Yep, even you, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter what you're doing or where you've been, he wants a relationship with you. That's why you were created. But we got to choose him. That's how it works. That's where the hope and the joy and the peace and all the good things in life, that's where it all comes from. There's nothing else out there. If you haven't figured out by now, there's nothing on this earth that will ever satisfy you completely or permanently. There's nothing else you can put your hope in. No person, no podcaster, no sports anchor, no philosophy, no government, no president, none of that stuff. No teacher, no preacher. We got to look up. So help me spread that message and hit my goal this year of doubling my subscribers on all platforms, everything on social media, on the podcast platforms. You got to share it. That's the only way I'm going to hit those goals. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you to Mark for being a great guest today. I hope his story and his episodes really encouraged you. Lord willing, I'll talk to you on the next one.